The lost episode of Peep and the Big Wide World, the Rice Incident. I'm not one to dig into the darker corners of nostalgia, but some things pull you in, whether you want them to or not. A few weeks ago, at a dusty thrift store, I found an unmarked DVD tucked behind piles of outdated manuals and broken electronics. The label was scrawled in faded black marker, Peep and the Big Wide World, Lost Episode. Peep had always been a gentle show, a childhood staple of bright colors, soft chirps, and innocent adventures. The idea of a lost episode was intriguing, but not inherently disturbing, or so I thought. The origin, a forgotten tape. As I dug deeper after watching the tape, I uncovered whispers of a bizarre backstory. The episode was supposedly created by an underground animator, obsessed with the fragility of childhood innocence. Some say he was driven mad by the thought that nothing pure lasts forever. His tapes were never officially aired. Instead, they were buried in archives. Buried so deep, most thought they were lost, or cursed. The rice-feeding episode, from what little was rumored, was his final piece, an allegory for destruction and the impossibility of repair. The episode, Uneasy Beginnings. The screen flickered to life. The colors were muted, as if the vibrancy had been leached away. Peep's world stretched out, but it felt hollow, like a beautiful painting peeling from the wall. The familiar characters gathered around a steaming bowl of rice. Their voices, though recognizable, had a faint, unnatural echo. Each chirp felt slower, strained, like breaths drawn underwater. One friend offered rice to another, but instead of joy, an eerie tension filled the air. The camera lingered too long on their eyes, which flickered between innocence and something darker. Desperation, maybe fear. The explosion, graphic and agonizing. The moment Peep was fed the rice, their body began to swell grotesquely, expanding as if the food was a poison inflating a balloon. The swelling wasn't smooth. The skin stretched and cracked with sharp, sickening pops. Suddenly, with a wet, visceral explosion, Peep's fragile body burst apart. Feathers, bones, and viscous fluids sprayed across the screen in sickening detail. The camera zoomed in, mercilessly showing every fragment of torn flesh and spilled innards. The horrifying struggle. The other characters were paralyzed by shock, then panic. They scrambled to gather the spilled remains, trying desperately to push feathers and viscera back into the torn shell. But it was futile. The insides slipped through their tiny wings and fingers like melting wax, unable to be contained. Their cries morphed into incomprehensible wails, the soundtrack distorting into a warped, nightmarish lullaby. The narration, eerily calm and almost mocking, whispered, "Some things, once shattered, cannot be made whole again. Remember this before you burst." Psychological descent, the aftermath. Watching this, I felt something inside me crack. The explosion wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. The impossibility of putting broken pieces back together echoed louder than any scream. The episode forced me to confront a brutal truth. Innocence, once ruptured, leaves scars invisible to the eye but impossible to erase. The desperate, futile attempts to restore the shattered body mirrored the way we all try to repair the damage life inflicts, sometimes in vain. The tape's grip, it won't let go. After the episode ended, the screen faded to black, but the silence that followed was louder than any scream. I sat frozen, haunted by the grotesque images and the hollow feeling gnawing at my mind. I tried to eject the DVD. It wouldn't budge. The player whirred and hummed as if alive. The room darkened, and I could swear I heard faint, chirping echoes. Not from the speakers, but from the shadows themselves. Final warning, the lesson of the lost episode. This tape is more than a show. It's a trap, a reminder, a curse. The rice feeding, the explosion, the desperate failure to restore. It's a twisted lesson carved into celluloid. Don't explode. Because some breaks are forever. The horror that stays. I've tried to forget what I saw, but the images claw at my mind every time I close my eyes. At night, I hear tiny chirps and wet, splattering sounds that no one else hears. I'm left wondering, Was this episode created to teach kids not to explode, or to remind adults what happens when innocence is violently torn apart? And as I write this, I feel the walls closing in, as if the broken pieces want to slip back inside me. Some episodes are better left lost. Some lessons break your mind, not just your heart. And some explosions leave behind a silence worse than death.